Hello and welcome to my presentation on STEM. I am Jessica Stahl and I am currently a student at Grand Canyon University. And this presentation is about STEM. Um, when we think of STEM in early child education classrooms, children are practicing a higher level of thinking, prediction, and the use of their brain is transferring knowledge across different domains. When I say different domains, I mean like social emotional, math, science, social studies, arts. They The during STEM, the children are practicing data collection, problem solving, answering or asking questions. An example that I see frequently is children could be playing in the block area, and they could be stacking a bigger block on a smaller block, and the smaller block falls. The teacher could ask questions like, "Why do you think it fell?" or "What could you do differently so it doesn't fall?" Um, there needs to be that strong interaction between the adult and the child to help with the problem solving and thinking of new ways if their tower didn't do exactly what they wanted it to do. Um, so how STEM can look different for different children, different developmental needs, individual differences. So all children learn differently, and all children have different abilities. But the important part is for children they need to see themselves in the images, um, someone like them playing with the materials. So when labeling classrooms or having books or things like that, you want to have children, if you have children in wheelchairs, have children playing with blocks at the table, or how you differentiate the instruction for that child. It's also nice to have books and posters, pictures maybe of the actual child working. At first, you obviously can't have that because they're not in your classroom yet, but as they start playing and learning, capturing those pictures of them doing those things. Like I said, depending on the ability of the student, you may have to set up different types of STEM activities. Some of your students need to be at a table, some can be on the floor, um, and you can offer different types of STEM activities as well. Like maybe blocks can be at the table too, for those wheelchair friends. You can have the sand table open because they're still accessible to use the sand table from their wheelchair. While playing with a child, it is important for the teacher to really listen, ask questions, and give feedback. I noticed you built your tower very tall. I noticed you put this round piece here. Why did you do that? What made you think of that? Just asking those kinds of questions to the children. Um, so there can be some concerns about integrating STEM into uh, the school day. Um, and I think we think sometimes it's like about explosions and things like that. And really it's much simpler than that. Like I suggested, like the blocks. Um, that's STEM and that's safe. So some may feel that it's dangerous for young children, but it is not the case depending on how the adult or the teacher is presenting it. Um, and if they, present the rules with it as well, so the students know what to expect, they know how to treat the materials and what to do. Some activities can be done with everyday safe materials like boxes, drinking straws, tapes, blocks. When children are working with materials, whether it is STEM or not, there are so many skills that cross content of language, social, emotional, math, science, arts, and literacy. The next slide is about research-based benefits of integrating STEM. Um, it gives them a sense of belonging. Like I said earlier, having a picture or a book or a poster of another child similar to them doing the activity shows the child that they belong there. They might be using math skills, counting or sorting or those kinds of things. Using their thinking skills like, I want to make my tower look like Burger King down the road. So they are thinking and looking at things that they can use to represent what they see. Um, Through learning experiences and materials, help children learn about their self, the world around them, physical and observing. During STEM play, we can watch children learn, which can teach us how they are learning. Inquiry-based learning. So what is it? Um, so it started in 1960 when it was described on how students gain information with questions and answers. Um, it's a student-centered approach that encourages the students to become an active participant in the learning process. How STEM supports inquiry-based learning in the 21st century is a lot of our STEM activities we are doing with children in the classroom or things that they can do in the future for their future jobs. So the job market um, is always changing, and STEM helps kids learn those skills, gives them classroom experience, to teach them the skills they need for today's jobs. Learning to problem solve or adapting to what the needs are. Traditional methods for learning are not always the way to teach. Using technology, unique learning styles, practical work related to problem solvings are other ways to the future. Examples of STEM integration in a preschool classroom. Um, I already gave the block example, but that's a huge example of different STEM things you can do in the classroom. Giving children tape and empty boxes or paper and just seeing what their imagination does and go with it. But another big part is to make sure you're asking questions, giving positive feedback during the time of them building these objects, because that's part of the critical thinking part, is getting them to realize what they're doing and why they're doing it. Um, like I gave the example of a field trip, also said about asking questions, whether they're playing with blocks, Legos outside, water, or more, you got to ask those questions. Why do you think it did that? When you did blah, 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 how could you change this? What could you do to make the tower taller or wider or look like this? Asking those open-ended questions, giving the child time to think and problem solve. Examples of STEM integration in elementary classrooms. Um, so we are seeing this a lot more like project-based activities, which are relevant to today's what they're seeing on today's news or things that are happening around them in their community. It helps if they can build on their prior knowledge, base their projects off, math or reading or science skills that they're actually learning too. And then you could also add the technology in the mix. Maybe it's programming a robot or um, making a game. Those are all types of STEM in elementary school. Planning activities for families that they could do at home to support STEM concepts. I can list a ton of activities, but I found this very important when I was doing my research about STEM concepts. So this can kind of just like give you an example of how to kind of just play off what the kids are playing with and how you can create it and make it into a STEM activity. Before you're planning an activity for your child, um, ask yourself, Is this something that they would want to do? Do they want to go dig in the dirt? Do they want to look for rocks? Do they want to walk through the woods? Will it be something they can figure out? So can they figure out, how to stack the rocks on top of each other without them falling? Is this something you can talk about with them? Again, asking those open-ended questions. Is there things that the child can write or draw? So maybe um, you're going to go, you know, collect rocks and you ask, I wonder how you can stack those rocks. And then maybe you can bring them on paper and they can draw that. When the child is invested in the activity before they'll want to participate, you want to make sure that it's something that they can do, like move wise, maybe running, collecting, get messy. They got to problem solve. Um, like I said, ask questions, make sure that they can be able to draw or write about the activity. But here I did give you guys some examples of things you can do um, to help your mind get started. Um, Try to think of some things you can do. Build a paper roller coaster, using tape, paper boxes, toilet paper rolls, wrapping paper rolls, anything that comes in a tube, a rug maybe. And build a roller coaster or, build a car track or, it's fun just to watch them, like give them materials and say, I wonder what you can make with these, and just let them go. But again, remember to stay close, ask them questions, help guide them. Um, so it's more of an interactive family time with your child. Another fun one is ice cream in a bag. Basically, you're taking the heavy whipping cream from a liquid and making it a solid. And so you're using a large Ziploc bag full of ice and a little bit of salt. And then you're putting the heavy whipping cream in the smaller bag, zipping the smaller bag up, putting it in the large bag with the ice, zipping it up and kind of just, massaging it, mixing it around, turning it to make ice cream. It takes a minute. I've done it before, so give it some time, but it's kind of fun to see the process and see the kids' face when you've taken the heavy whipping cream from a liquid to a solid. So I hope that you have learned some things about STEM and how we've integrated them into the classroom, how we continue to integrate them at home, and I hope you plan some fun activities to do with your children.